Right from the beginning of the enhancement group, we were thinking about the physical connections to Milford, the natural beauty, the recreational values, the historical values. That included things like the Glen, which is just south of town here, the Santos Farm, and the river, and all the trails and falls in the area. To just go through a couple of those, and Dennis and I will reminisce about the Pinchot Greenway after a while. The Glen is a marvelous walking area just across the Sawkill at kind of the base of Broad Street. In the old days there was a big mill there. There was a walkway across to this wonderful area. Through the years, and it's always been in private hands, it got closed down because the family didn't feel that they could monitor this 40-acre area. So when the enhancement group got started, we talked to the family. They were agreeable, and the borough leased this area for a $1 renewable annual lease. This is a very important area because it includes trails that go right up to the Knob, and the Knob, of course, is owned by the National Park Service. It also is a walking area down to the Mott Street Bridge, where there's a dam. It's also the site of the Callahan House, one of the oldest houses in the county, and it's right across the brook from the Mets Ice House, which has all kinds of opportunities for development in the future. So the Glen is a very important definition for us. The Santos Farm is on the other end of town as you go out towards Matamoros. This is a wonderful old farm, and the family has kept it for years and years, right down to the last 2 cows. Well, the last 2 cows are gone, the family wants to sell, and so everyone rushes into the breach. Those of us in the community have tried to keep a handle on what might happen to this property. The school wanted to get a hold of it, and they finally gave it up. But the beauty for our community, beyond the farm itself, which straddles 209 Route 6, is the lower bench that runs along the river. It's huge acreage. When you're down there, you might as well be on the Missouri River looking across to Nebraska. It's an unbelievable site. It offers an opportunity for recreational lands for the municipalities and the county. And I know there is a group of people, including John and the county and one of the land trusts, that are working to work out a price to acquire that land and bring it into the community fold. The other big item that is part of our physical surrounding is the river. The Delaware, as you know, is one of the longest free-flowing rivers in the country. It's a beautiful river with lots of recreation. It comes through the Wild and Scenic Rivers, which is a National Park Service unit. It goes through John's 37,000 acres. 70,000. Well, I was halfway there. But it's very important, and it has always been important to Milford, except for maybe 10 to 20 years ago when we kind of lost sight of it. Milford is built on a bluff, and in the old days there was tremendous logging, which the Pinchots were involved in. And they'd take the logs down Ann Street and they'd skim them down into the river, and there were huge barges that took them down to Philadelphia. And you can just see how they did that. Well, as time went by, the resort community took over. Dave mentioned the Bluff House, which sat on the top there. There was a wonderful switchback walkway that went down to the river, which I think potentially can be renewed. And this kind of brings us to the Pinchot Greenway, which is something Dennis and I have been working on for years. He's been to Iraq and back in the time that we've been working on this project. But we went to DCNR with Dennis's help. We got a feasibility grant. We went through the process of identifying a route. We've had that route for several years. We really haven't moved forward because the Greenway is a pedestrian bike trail to connect McDade Trail with Great Towers. The McDade Trail has been on a somewhat slow pace, but it's picking up, and I think by the end of next year you're going to be crossing some brooks like the Raymond Skill and the Adams Creek, and so forth. So the opportunity now is to make that connection, to sign it, to develop the Mets Ice House, possibly a bike rental in there, and bring it up to Great Towers. The route is fairly simple. It comes along our main arteries. It comes up Milford Beach Road, which is a PennDOT road, and I know PennDOT has a design plan to improve that road, make it a little bit wider, make it more accessible to bikers. When it comes up the road before getting to 209, it ducks across the bridge down to the Mets Ice House area, which has recently been repaved by the borough. It was a cooperative effort. The Park Service and the Bridge Commission and the borough, they all put in money. That was liquid fuels money, by the way, which comes through the state. So that was done. Now, it comes to the Milford Mets Ice House. You can go straight up the hill to the town, and of course you've seen the marvelous streetscape that's been put in, which would be a pedestrian way right down to the Mets Ice House. For the purposes of the bike trail, we take it out to the river so that people can access that. Then we bring it up Catherine Street, which is nearby, make another turn at our Ball Diamond, and then bring it up High Street, which is very historic and wide. Take it up and work it across and up to Great Towers, keeping it off Route 6, which would be fairly dangerous for bikers. Once it gets to Great Towers, Dick, you and I have talked in the past, and with Lori, and we talked about some modification, possibly in the meadow, bringing a path up along the stone wall, bringing the whole thing up to your information center, and having bike racks and so forth. Now, beyond that, Great Towers, and thanks to the Pinchot family, there is a huge plot of land called the Milford Experimental Forest. That is also filled with trails, and from basically the other side of Route 6 from Great Towers, that extends up to what is called Pike County Park, which the governor gave to us for $1, I think about 10 or 12 years ago. And there are many wonderful trails up there. That is connected to the Delaware State Forest and the Pennsylvania game lands. So it's a wonderful connection that we have all the way around. And Dennis and I will speak. I think for the most part we can finish off the Pinchot Greenway without the help of the state, with signage and so forth, because it is coming across macadam streets. On the other hand, when we get up into the trails, I think those extensions of DCNR can be very helpful. And the other thing I will just mention, I am also involved with the Marie Zimmerman project. It's now called the Marie Zimmerman Center for the Arts. It was the Friends of Marie Zimmerman. I was involved with it for 10 years. Now I'm treasurer. I've stepped back a little bit. But we still have big plans for that property. And of course, it's owned by the Park Service, and they are our partners. But we've now gone beyond our original dimension of history and recreation and culture, and we're going to make it hopefully an arts campus and an incubator. Marie Zimmerman was a nationally acclaimed metalsmith who very often came to the Fauchère. She had a little farm there. We want to develop the ag dimensions of that property. So that is kind of another connection that we have that's nearby. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.